Guys, this is Dan here with the Mixtape Marketing Podcast. This is episode 11, and I got a great guest here today, Phoenix Star 9. She's a blog owner. Her name is Tammy Johnson, and I'm really glad to have her on the show. She's a blogger. She helps artists and helps with their promotion and everything. Thank you, Tammy, for coming on the interview and on the podcast. And I'd like just maybe if you could give yourself a brief introduction on how you help artists promote their music.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me, first and foremost. It's a pleasure to be here. It's really an honor. I'm like, wow, okay, you wanted me on the podcast. But what I do with artists is I basically, a lot of times I've even done where I've coached them, or what a lot of people call consulted. Mm-hmm. But on the blog, I basically go into showing them how to make sure that their music gets the BDS, like radio spins, if it's registered with BDS, so that they can get payment for, any radio spins, significant payment for the radio spins. A lot of them probably won't see that much money, but we do things like we show them how to do it step by step, how to register. You also get things where I'm showing you how to use the internet to market yourself in terms of, using social media, using, trying to get funding also for like your mixtapes or your music. Mm-hmm. We also go into things like that, and I also provide promotional services as well for artists. So that's just a little bit of what we do. It's a lot about artist development as well. So we do that with the help with websites, apps, and just trying to figure out what you're trying to accomplish. So that's about what we do.
You just touched on a really cool topic I'd love to talk about, actually, just there. You said that you helped them get revenue from the actual music that they collect. So is this talking about setting up with a PRO, a performance rights organization like Ascap or BMI and stuff like that?
Yeah, that too. It's because a lot of people don't know that you have to. Well, let me back up. When you see artists come on social media or anywhere and say, hey, call into so-and-so radio show and request my song to be played. Okay. But the thing is, if you haven't registered your music with a performing rights organization like like BMI or ASCAP, and I think it's Chapter too. If you haven't registered it with them and then also registered it with Nielsen BDS, so you can track the spins on it, then you're kind of like, I understand people want to be popular and they want to have it where people are calling in, but hey, you might as well try to get some money off of it and do it. So, I've done a video on that.
Excellent.
Started.
And how can we find that video? That's on your YouTube channel or is it on your blog?
That's on my YouTube and it's also on my blog. You can just search, on Google for Phoenix Star 9 and just search BDS and it should pop up, with a tutorial there as well.
Excellent. That's actually brilliant. No, guys, just to let you know, when you're listening to this podcast, there's definitely going to be show notes to this and everything that we mention in the podcast. There will be links to what we talk about. So just letting everyone know about that. I just want to keep on that section. You just talked about the royalties, genuine royalties, and they might as well get paid and do it properly. Is this using sound exchange as well? Is it, or is this a complete different kind of medium?
Sound exchange is a little different. You have to actually register on that website, but you still have to make sure that that you're registered with the performing rights organizations as well, because a lot of times also how we have online radio stations like XM radio, that's where their royalties come in at. So you do need to make sure that you're registering your music on Sound Exchange, so that way you can get paid over there as well.
Do you find that a lot of artists, when they first start off, that they're just ill-informed and they just don't know about this stuff, and then they just never learn this stuff and they just kind of forget, and it's a big mistake that they should start off doing stuff like this right and get the help from people like yourself?
I mean, that too, and plus it's just a lot of stuff online that they can really look up in Google themselves. And of course, they can come to people like me and other people that can help them get started. But it's important to educate yourself so that people can't just tell you anything. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of artists get robbed, from any type of revenue, that they could possibly have coming in because they're not educated on, on receiving royalties or, receiving any type of payment, for what they need to do. Somebody else is registering their stuff and possibly getting paid, and they may not even know anything about it. So it's important that they learn how to, go on the PRO websites, register. A lot of them are free. Most of them are free, if I'm not mistaken. But you register, it's free, and just doing the research that will, prevent you from a lot of heartache. In the end. That's just my.
That's really good points there. I'm glad you brought this up actually, and that artists can find help from your videos as well. So that's really good. Just wanted to kind of move on as well, but keeping with that point that you're talking about radio, I like where the conversation's heading, and how do you think the importance of radio and online radio is now with 2015? Like, I see a lot of artists that are, when they're getting they're promoting mixtapes and stuff like that, they're trying to buy ads on social media or other music sites, but they're not thinking about actually using a radio as a vehicle for promotion as well. How valuable do you think radio as promotion for mixtapes or albums this year?
I think that it's very important. I feel like you're able to reach more, more audiences, and a lot of people will have you on their show, play your music for free. You know what I mean? But you have some people that charge artists to play their music, which isn't, it really isn't the proper way unless they're saying, hey, this is a sponsored, a sponsored position, or this is sponsored. But if you're, a legit radio station, you're not going to be charging artists to play. You know what I mean? Because the radio station itself should be able to, say, generate revenue, from ads or from sponsors that they have for the show, because they're supposed to already have an audience. So it's kind of like going back. It's kind of like, okay, if you have an artist paying to have radio play, then like why are they paying? Like who like, where is the audience at? If you have an audience and you're generating revenue from ads or sponsors, people that are seeing that you have an audience, why do you have to get the money from the artist? So that's just something that they need to look at. And
stay away from, if someone is actually charging you to play your music on radio, it's just a caution sign just to stay away from. It's not worth it, is it?
I mean, it just depends. It depends, because you have some people that aren't registered, with Nielsen, to where the people can, collect any type of revenue off of it. And if the people already have, again, if the radio station already has an audience, you know what I mean? I understand that a lot of people do pay for spots, but if the radio station already has an audience, you know what I mean? Why do they need your money if they're legitimate? Now, I don't want to knock anybody else's movement in terms of radio stations, but unless the person is being, is paying for it as part of a promotional type situation where, these people are, announcing that, okay, this is sponsored by so-and-so, by the artist. You just have to be careful. So like you said, it should throw up some signs, some red flags before you actually just, start trying to invest. But it's a great movement. If you can get interviews, work on getting the interviews, letting people know who you are. I know you know Kevin Gates. You've heard of Kevin Gates before.
Yeah.
A lot of people haven't really listened to his music, but they may not have heard of him. But you will see, even in the YouTube comments on his interviews, they will listen to his music based on his interviews. So getting interviews also on these online radio stations, and also on any satellite radio station, and any, regular FM radio station, that can help you. That can also help you get heard more, because people want to know who you are as an artist. they will deal with you. They will respect you, depending, after they hear what you have to say, they will respect you and they'll want to listen. It's evident. So it's important to really get involved with radio,
Mhm.
especially on the interview level.
Can I ask you just a question just about that? Because would you think an artist should set up their own label and kind of have, like, say, them on the roster of their own label before they start contacting these radio stations? Because generally, like, these companies tend to prefer to work with a business or a company rather than just an artist. Do you think it'd be a good idea for an artist? Because you see, like, all the, let's say we're comparing to other artists, like Waka Flocka has Brick Squad, or, well, Gucci has Brick Squad. With them, there's Waka Flocka's Monopoly Money and stuff like that. Do you know that kind of label where they have their own label, and it's just easier for them to network with as a business rather than just as an artist? Do you think artists should start setting up their own labels first before they start doing this?
Now, that's a good question. I think that it's important for you to have some type of representation.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily being on a label, but it's important for you to have some type of representation before you start trying to put yourself out there and sending your music to the radio stations. But like, to go back to what you said about how Gucci and Waka and a lot of people get set up on the radio on those record labels, I think a lot of times what happens is these people already have connections with with the radio stations, or have already had contacts at the radio stations. So that makes it a little easier, for them to be able to get the radio play that they're looking to get. But I don't think it's a necessary thing to do, because not everybody can operate or run a record label. That's just my opinion. Everybody's not capable, but if you're going to get legit and you want to have something for yourself until you're able to get, to a different level, or if you want to stay independent, I would say try it. Try doing that and try and putting yourself out there as being on a record label, or being a record label owner, and you as an artist underneath that umbrella. So, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think know what you're doing.
Yeah. That's really good information. I love where the conversation is going. This is brilliant. I hope everyone that's listening to the podcast now will really take heed of some of this. This is really good information. But just moving on, do you know, when you start working with artists, let's say the artist comes in, they have a good product. What's the kind of first steps you take to, promoting the product? Even if you're talking about social media or just in general, any what's the first couple of steps that artists should be taking, and what you would do with artists?
Okay. Well, basically, I like to know where the artist is. Like, where do they want to go? Like, what are they trying to do or accomplish with their music? You know what I mean? Like, if they have any goals already set before they get started with me.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll just talk with them, and I'll just ask them certain questions to figure out, what it is they want to do, figure out if they know who their audience is. Like, the first thing that I really do with an artist is I find out what their goals are. I also look at what they already have going on. I try to see where their audience is, who their audience consists of, and who they're really trying to target. Because a lot of people they don't make the music targeted towards certain people. They just make the music.
Mm-hmm.
They and figure people will follow, but it's a science. It's a science to it. You know what I mean? To getting certain people to listen to your music.
I can hear what you're saying, because I actually remember talking to someone before about this, and they said that Jay-Z, taking into account Jay-Z and the Samsung kind of phone thing, where he released Magna Carta with the phone, and it was only to calibrate data and who is listening to the album, what age group, this kind of stuff you're talking about now, and this is going to help you with your marketing. Is this where that kind of point you're trying to make?
Yes, exactly. Like, and that was something I didn't think of when you mentioned that whole situation with Jay-Z and that deal that they had going on, and it was collecting data. And I remember everybody was up in arms about it. But and that's so crazy to me that they could do that. Like, you have to get innovative, I think, as an artist these days with what you're trying to do, so you can get information about who do you already have listening? How can you further optimize, your music or your marketing to kind of meet those fans where they are, and to also bring in more fans, you know, that trying to hear what you, or that are interested in hearing what you have to say as an artist.
So it's like looking for like is basically what we're trying to say here. Is like let's say if I take for example the Facebook ad platform, if anyone has used it, don't worry about it if you haven't used it yet. It's not the easiest thing to use, but don't worry about it. I like using Facebook's ad platform because you can target people. Let's say if someone likes just one of J. Cole's songs or albums and stuff like that, you can target fans that are just liking that kind of that type of music, J. Cole or Kid Cudi and stuff. Those kind of targeted people, and that's what you kind of have to do when you build up your own audience. Is that what we're kind of trying to say here? Is that we're finding that persona? It's like even with a business, any kind of business, it's like they find a persona of people that they want, and maybe this is what we have to do with our music. Sorry, Tammy, you wanted to say something there?
No. You're on a roll. Like you're on a roll here. So, you know what I mean? I agree with you 100%. Like that's really what it's about. And you mentioned Facebook as a tool. Like I've used that before. Like I think they kind of changed things around, but they had it at a point where you could pinpoint your fans, and then find out who your friends or who your fans were fans of. Find out who, you know, these people's friends were. You could just find out so much by using that Facebook search, their graph search, and getting you know, audience information that way. And you just, you know, so.
Sorry. You mentioned graph search there. Sorry, if you could go on about that. Actually, that was actually interesting.
Okay.
This is something that I actually don't really actually know, and I'd love to know as well. Maybe the audience might know how you would use it now if you were helping an artist. Sorry. Go on.
No. It's cool. Basically, what I have done personally as a business page on Facebook, just as a business period, with the blog and everything, I have gone where they changed it up a lot on Facebook. But you used to be able to go in and find out friends who, you know, you'd be able to type in the search. You could type in things like friends who like you said, J. Cole.
Yeah.
Right? Friends who like J. Cole. And you can see which one of all of your friends that like J. Cole. But say you were looking for people who were interested in what you already have up as a business page or as an artist page on Facebook. If you have an artist page, you type that in and you're able to see, you know, the actual people that like your stuff, the actual people that, you know, like finding out where they live, not their addresses, but the countries in the States, how old they were. You'd be able to sort that information, sort it by that information, as well as sorting it by, you know, income, gender, and other pages that they might like. So you'd be able to get a focus on who is already liking the page. I'll give you a case on, well, kind of like a case study, basically.
Yeah.
On that, briefly. I don't want to hold you up or anything, but
Go for it. Yeah, excellent. This is brilliant. Actually, what you're mentioning here is exactly what people need to hear, because I think sometimes artists are kind of stuck, and it's not that they don't want to try. It's just they're a little bit lost. There's like so many things out there to do. Where do we start? And just giving them something that might just work, or just even to try, if it, you know what I mean, is a great idea. Sorry, if you'd like to continue. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. And, you know, I'll let you guys know who this artist is. She's an artist out of Columbus, Georgia. Her name is Nikki McKnight. So basically, with what I did with her was we looked at, you know, we went to Facebook. We searched, you know, the people that already liked her page on Facebook. She had, you know, we looked at where these people were, looked to see if the people were in her hometown. You know what I mean? In the town that she currently resides in, which she had a good number of that, you know, good number of people that lived in the town she currently resides in. So we said, okay. And then we went and looked and saw, we went to see, you know, what the gender was of the people that were liking the page. And then, you know, as far as if they lived in her town and what their gender was, like what was the majority of the people that, you know, that were liking the page. So once we figured that out, we looked at her music. right? We looked at her music and the songs that she was putting out. And as you can listen to any song or any record that a lot of people put out, for instance, what's the popular track that's out right now?
What would be most famous? Oh, that Bruno Mars track is really popular. Uptown Funk is very popular here in Ireland.
Okay, so that's popular. Now, so you think about the type of feeling that record gives, or the lyrics, and figure out who is he talking to, or what is he singing about in this song? Who is he to or for? And that's where you find out who your audience is. Like, they're like, oh man, okay, you have people that love to party, people that like to feel good. I mean, and that should be everybody, but not everybody's into, feel good music. They're into, hip hop world. You have people that are into, for instance, Jay-Z's music. When Jay-Z first started putting out music, and even now, he has people that listen to his music that are drug dealers. People that listen to his music that want to be more, that they have these different things that motivate them. So you have to figure out if you want to motivate, or if you're a person that's, trying to reach a certain level. So artists will put out music that, I don't want to say demeans other artists or demeans people that, may not have as much as they have. But some people don't, listen to it and think that they like, oh yeah, I want to have the big house. I want to have the, big car. I want to do this and do that. Those are the people that, they target, and that's the youth. A lot of the youth want to have these things. So that's where that targeting comes in at. So you're like, if I live in a town, she lives in Columbus, Georgia. So if she lives in Columbus, Georgia, what we did was I told her, I said, if you have a lot of fans in Columbus, make a song for your city. And then also go to the record stores that are in your city. You know what I mean? And not throw yourself on the, people that are there, but talk to people, ask them, like, what are you looking to listen to? What are you listening to? Go into the record stores. A lot of people don't have record stores anymore. Go into the clothing stores of the people that, kind of match what we've already looked at on Facebook. Like, what are these people wearing? Where would they shop? You can go into Facebook graph search and not only find out who likes your page. You can have that setting up to find out who likes your page. Then a person you can go in there and also find out, where does this person shop? Like, what clothing stores do they like? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying stalk your fans.
Well, I understand what you're saying. It's all about finding. It's exactly what I use with the Jay-Z and the Samsung phone analogy. It's like that, just collecting data and just understanding who is listening to your music. It really, isn't it? So you can create music for those kind of people.
Exactly. That's about it. And then I know I may have been overcomplicating it, but
I love that. I love that you're finding something new, because exactly, it's like we've just spoken about two things that I'm not as comfortable with. Like, I kind of use myself as the guinea pig on this show, as I'm reaching out to people and other people's marketing ideas. Sure, I can use AdWords and I can blog and stuff, but I have to find other ways as well. And you talking about graph search is something new to me, and I'm definitely going to start learning more about it after what you've been talking about. And I'm definitely going to start getting into more about radio. I've done stuff with Coast to Coast mixtapes and stuff like that, and I've put my music on a couple of different radio sites and blog sites, but I need to learn to track it more and prove that it's working. That's what I'm doing with AdWords and Facebook and stuff like that, is learn, is it worth my time? Because I've changed my marketing around with Twitter as well. I don't spend an awful lot of time on there as much as I used to, because just getting exposure over building a fan base. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to cut my time down, is trying to I don't want to just be on there for the sake of being on there. Just really want to ensure that I'm actually building a fan base. Sorry. Maybe you'd like to talk about how you use like Twitter and and Instagram in your, because we're kind of on the topic of social media here in this, and I love where it's going. And maybe use Twitter a lot actually, and use it when you're helping the artists. So maybe you'd like to elaborate how artists can use Twitter with their promotion of their mixtapes. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Basically, and also just to go back a little bit, another thing I want you to do when you're on Facebook using graph search, finding out who likes your page. Now, I'm not saying everybody that likes your page or people that are friends on your page, on your regular page, but start adding those people too. Start adding those people that you see that like the page. You know what I mean? Like, you never know.
Friends of friends, is it?
You can add them, friends of friends, but also like if you're looking at your business page, right, on Facebook, looking at who likes the business page, and you'll see those people, like they'll come up, it's just like a regular profile. Of course, it's a regular profile, and then you just hit, where you can add them as a friend. So
yes, so you have to go back and use your own profile and add them as a friend as well. So you have them kind of targeted as in two places. You have them targeted as your business page, and you're targeted as your personal page. Is this what you're trying to say?
Right, so that way you can build like a another connection with the fans, because a lot of people, a lot of people don't add. Of course, the bigger stars, they're not adding, regular people all the time to their pages. So you just want to build that connection with your fans if possible. You know what I mean? To kind of also maybe get more fans from their friends. That's you guys talking or however, however you do, just make sure you're communicating with your fans. But,
I love that. That is some great information. I can't believe I just learned some of that now today. Actually, thank you for sharing that with us. That's really good tips. But just moving on, maybe we could talk about how you use Twitter in your marketing too, because you use Twitter a lot, and I like Twitter, but I don't want to be on it too much. I think Twitter is becoming what we say with Facebook is as well. You can spend an awful lot of time on Twitter now too, and I just want to how do you use it to effectively market artists online? Sorry.
Okay. No problem. Basically, what I do with Twitter and any other social media page on any of those other social media websites is basically the first thing that you need to make sure or to check. Is to check and find out when would be the best time for you to post. Also on those platforms, and not just going by anything you search on Google. There's an app called Buffer app, which with Twitter, it basically analyze the best times for you to post on social media according to what your fans, what time your audience is already posting, or your followers are already posting. So you want to find out the optimal times for you for yourself, for you to post your updates. That's one of the most important things to do. The second thing to do is to make sure that you're crafting your message in a way that especially on Twitter, if you're posting a message on Twitter, you got to make sure you use hashtags. I don't say hashtag everything, but hashtag, add some relevant hashtags to your post, you know what I mean? So that people can search, like if they're searching that hashtag or if they click that hashtag, or are monitoring that hashtag, your information will show up. So outside of hashtags and optimizing the time, you don't want to overshare. You want to stay away from posting anything that could be possibly seen as negative talk. So that's why you see a lot of people posting quotes, and sometimes, funny things, humorous things, but don't go overboard and overshare and, basically bombard your followers with your updates. So just a few tips that I would, say people should use generally for anything that they do or any posting that they do.
Yeah, that's excellent. Because you just mentioned an app that I also use as well. And for those of you that are listening, the app she just mentioned was Buffer app, and I suggest everyone download it. There'll be a link in the show notes of this episode, so don't worry about it. I'll show you how to get that. But there's something really clever actually in that. Actually, you can link 3 or 4 different social medias with that Buffer app, so it helps with time management as well, guys. So it also gives you data as well, because I noticed that when I used to take it actually, when I post my music on my site, it takes what's called the title tag from my site. So if I have a song on a page, it'll take the title tag of that page on my blog. And what I noticed that it always had that title tag in the thing. So, but I started to change it. You can change the tweet with Buffer app. Buffer app will let you change the tweet, and it'll give you good data of what you could make you could promote the same song with 10 different tweets and see which one is getting clicks on it. There's really good data and analytics in behind that Buffer app, so definitely check that out. Do you use that kind of data to see if what kind of marketing message is working?
Yes.
The Buffer app.
Yes, because you can go and see who clicked it, how far the reach extended on that. If somebody retweeted it, you can get a lot of info, find out what's working, what's not working, and then you're able to go back and then try to reposition what you just stated in a different way and see if it can get better views or more clicks. So I definitely agree with what you just said there.
Can I ask you? Actually, this is where I like the way the podcast, this episode of the podcast, has kind of become this. Thank you, Tammy. This is brilliant. It's like the podcast has become like this. How to build a fan base kind of. This is the kind of theme we've kind of generated from our conversation, and I love it. It's really interesting. But okay, since we're on this kind of topic, I was actually gonna ask you. Maybe we could talk building an email list and how we could use like our social channels from building an email list, and the importance of artists building an email list. Do you encourage artists to build an email list and start from day one?
Always.
Yeah.
Always, because you never know what's going to happen with social media. Things get deleted. It was some site that I noticed artists had Mixer tone up one time. And I don't think it was like a big social media site, but it just disappeared. So anybody that you had as a fan on there, or anybody that was paying attention to that page, they don't like, if you don't have, like, if you're not building a brand for yourself where you're collecting, email addresses for a newsletter, with your audience or with your fans, then it's kind of making it where if social media was to die, your fans know where to find you. Like, you have to kind of start over. I don't care how many followers or fans you have. You need to start building that list up, so that way you can get messages out also to your fans. You know what I mean? When you have new things going on, because everybody's not always on social media. So I think.
Do you think because I actually touched on this, what I'm actually going to ask you with someone that I interviewed in the last podcast, do you think that because we have social media pages for free, we don't have to pay for them? Obviously, we practically pay for them with our data, our information, but and our viewership, because we're actually eyes on those pages and eyes for advertisers. But do you think that artists are addicted to the kind of Kool-Aid of free social media sites, and that they don't think they should pay for like a newsletter software like MailChimp or Aweber or Constant Contact? Do you think that artists are they don't start off right at day one, and it's not going to help them if they come to like a label and they want to get signed later on and they don't have proof that they actually have a proper fan base? Do you think that artists kind of got addicted to free social sites, and maybe it's time that they should start paying for some proper marketing kind of software and stuff like that?
I mean, in a way, I think that they have become really addicted to it. I used to be also on Twitter so much. But, it's important for you to start investing in things like MailChimp or Aweber for, mailing list handling, because once you get so addicted and thinking that you don't need this stuff, that because it's free, it's going to, help you out more. It's not going to be that effective if, say, one day you wake up and all your followers are gone, and then you have to start from scratch. That will break a lot of people's hearts. When they're presenting anything to a label, you have to, again, like you said, show that you have to have proof that you have. That mailing list comes in handy at that point. People can buy followers, and again, people can buy mailing lists, but still, that's neither here nor there. People are buying followers on Instagram, on Twitter, Facebook likes, and, there are ways to find out if people bought them, and that's probably a way to find out whether or not you're going to sign an artist as well. But I don't think it's good to stay just so hooked into social media so much. I think you have to go back to like the grassroots of everything, and getting the newsletter together, making sure you're building like a real following, like with real people.
And you think it's the same with like people relying too much on using like Facebook as, let's say, a business page, a Facebook business page, or an artist page too much, instead of building their own site and stuff? Do you find that kind of mistake with artists a lot as well?
All the time, because they're missing out on opportunities. To make sure that people are staying in tune to them and paying attention to what they have going on outside of going on Facebook. And, you go on Facebook, if you look on that right side of the screen, sometimes they have different little ads going on that, take you to somebody else's site and somebody else's page, I'm sorry. And that's not helping you, because it's like, oh, I see this other person, I'm going to go here. You focus on you. So, and that having your own website and your own domain, that's something that, unless you're doing something really crazy or somebody hacked you like in a way that you just can't get back from, that's your domain. That is your home. That's where your fans are going to go and get news directly from you. You know what I mean? When you out. So it's important not to rely on social media so much. It's important to get the website. It's important to get that mailing list. It's important.
So when artists are creating like content around their music and stuff like that, and they're trying to promote their music out, what kind of content would you tell them to create? Not just like, obviously they've created the music, but how do they kind of promote it without giving it away for free? How would you advise artists about generating that kind of buzz and that kind of story about, let's say their mixtape is coming out? How do you help artists in that way?
Well, right now, what I've been trying to work on artists doing is helping them, do like maybe mini documentaries. Because, people do those DVDs. Nobody really, I don't know who really watches DVDs anymore. But there are so many different ways you can create a mini documentary on YouTube, get the word out. You can do things such as get branding with you see artists have their names, the merchandise with their names and everything on their shirts and stuff, and do contests. You know what I mean? Have giveaways. That's something that I don't really see a whole lot of artists doing. Have giveaways. Do things within the community, within your community. Have drives. And name it after your mixtape. Unless your mixtape is named something crazy, then don't do that. But like Drugs Are Us or something like that. But you just want to kind of come up with just innovative ways to market yourself, because a lot of people are doing things that are played, overused, that people aren't paying attention to anymore. So you have to be different. You have to stand out.
Okay, excellent. I think we've actually touched on a lot of points. Maybe I'll just wrap it up right now. But just before we go, maybe you could just give us like one more golden nugget of information. It's 2015. Like, we've seen the Facebook and social media and stuff like that. What's something that artists should be doing now this year, and just trying new, and just what kind of, if you're to leave people with just a little bit of advice before we leave on the show, what would, for 2015, if they were to start something different, they just have a good product, they've made a mixtape, got the covers, got the beats, and got the songs. What would you tell artists to start doing today?
Before you do anything, also make sure that you're putting yourself in a position, because it's a business. You have to. It's a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. So you want to put yourself in a position where you're like, okay, I'm gonna get sponsors for my mixtape, or sponsors for my new music video. You know what I mean? Because you still generate revenue. A lot of people aren't buying music like they used to. But if you fan base, if you're building your fan base up, the most important thing for you to do is, show that you have an audience, have your audience in your videos, think outside the box. Like, don't try to do what everybody else is doing. Make sure that you're optimizing your music, to reach new people. Sometimes try something, reach out in the community. That's one of the best things I can really tell people, because people want to be famous so fast, with musicians that are coming out now. A lot of them just hopping on these reality shows, and you're like, that kind of discounts them a little bit. But that's just, just be different. That's my, be different. Don't go so crazy. Don't do a Young Thug. Don't do that.
Yeah. Yes.
Avoid that. That's my nugget.
Yeah. No, that's actually, that's good advice. And yeah, I think there's a couple of other people that are like that. Chief Keef is kind of like that as well. You kind of want him to succeed, but you kind of don't as well. Do you know what I mean? You're like, this guy. It's kind of happened with Charles Hamilton years ago as well. Charles Hamilton had like this big setup for a great career, and he just kind of made some stupid mistakes, and then nothing ever happened. And you just wonder why people will shoot themselves in the foot and kind of try and set themselves up better for success. Basically, is that what you're kind of saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. Excellent. Tammy, this has been a brilliant podcast. I love the way we kind of see, when I set this podcast up, the Mixtape Marketing Podcast, I set it up and I have like sheet notes in front of me. I know I'm not the best interviewer in the world, but I have sheet notes in front of me. And I said to you at the start, like, I just love the kind of, it's just the two of us in a coffee shop kind of talking about music marketing. And I love the way we, like, I didn't have an agenda with the kind of fan building kind of theme that we got in this, and I just love it. I love the way you talked about the Facebook graph and the radio, and definitely I'll have a blog post to this podcast and every kind of thing we touched on in this, and a link to your blog. And anyone who's listening at home, definitely please check out Phoenix Star 9 on Facebook and on Twitter, and definitely check her out on her blog, because she will definitely help you out, and her blog is brilliant, and she's always helping out with artists, and she's great with networking with people. So definitely check her out, guys. Tammy, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast, and I'd love to bring you back on again. Okay.
I'm gonna have you on my show, so
no problem. I'd love it. I hope I can give as much knowledge as you did. I owe you one for that. Okay.
Thank you.